I'm Jackson.
And I'm Dylan. And this is Wacky News. Welcome to Wacky News. My name is Dylan. This is a podcast for kids, about kids, and presented to you by kids. My brother Jackson and I will share neat stories every week for you to discuss with your friends on the school bus, during lunch, or whenever you want.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wacky News. I'm Jackson, your host with the most. Oh yeah, and my sister Dylan is here too. Your hostess with the mostest. And this is episode 7. Before we jump into our news stories, we have something we really want to share with you.
That's right. In addition to our normal wacky news and jokes, we are very excited to announce the launch of Toothy Trivia, the new podcast coming out on Podcast Playground starting next week.
Toothy Trivia will be the first podcast in history to air twice a day, every single day of the week. Not even adult podcasts do that.
Every morning and every evening, a new episode will be available to listen to while you brush your teeth. We all know that we are supposed to brush our teeth for 2 minutes, but it can be so hard not to rush through it.
With Toothy Trivia, 10-year-old Emma will share 2 minutes of fun facts and trivia to make your brushing fly by.
Not only will you have sparkly clean teeth, but you will also have interesting facts that you can share with your family and friends.
So be sure to go to podcastplayground.com this coming Monday, September 12th, and subscribe to Toothy Trivia. No more rushing your brushing.
And now it's time to get this show started. Jackson, can you ask the Wacky News Machine our first story?
I sure can. Hey, Wacky News Machine, what do you have for us today? Awesome! This is a perfect piece for people who like playing with the sand. Sand art. When most people think about using sand to create art, they imagine impressive sculptures on the beach with intricate details carved into damp sand. But German artist Tim Bengel had something totally different in mind. Several years ago, the now 24-year-old came up with the idea to use sand instead of paint. Sand instead of paint? I don't get it. Lots of artists experiment with using things other than paint. The more common items are chalk or pencil, but some artists have used makeup or food like berries, and some artists have even used poop. Poop? No way, man. For the record, Wacky News is not suggesting that anyone go out and do that. Anyway, Mr. Bengel decided that he wanted to use sand, and the result is amazing. He starts with a canvas that's sticky over. It is a very slow-drying sticky canvas onto which he carefully arranges grains of black sand and sometimes gold flecks. Oh! In order to get the black sand to be just right, he adds it grain by grain and uses a scalpel, which is a super pointy knife. That must take him forever. It does. But the step-up process can take him weeks to do. One piece of art he did took 300 days to do. That's almost a year. After he has all the black grains in place, he fills in the blank spaces with a bunch of white sand so that it covers the entire piece. The whole thing at that point looks like a mess. We have a video of Mr. Bengel with one of his paintings. Yeah, I can totally see that it just looks like a ton of sand on a board. But watch what he does next. He lifts up the top end of the painting, and all the extra sand falls off. Wow, look at that! He did that all with just sand. Yeah, guys, you have to go to podcastplayground.com to check out this video. Click on Wacky News episode 7, and you will see how he does all of his sand paintings. It is so cool. I wonder if Mom will let me play with the sand in the house if I tell her I'm doing it for art? Heh. Good luck with that, Dylan. Hey, at least it isn't poop. Good point. I might use that line anytime I get in trouble for something I'm not supposed to do. Anyway, let's get back to business. Wacky News Machine, what is our next story? You live where? If someone wanted to go to the White House to see the president, they would have to go to the address, which is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest in Washington, D.C., zip code 20500. And I would certainly hope that the person made an appointment to see the president first. Who does this person think they are, just waltzing in to see the president without an appointment? So rude. Jackson, that has nothing to do with this story. Stop being distracting. Cut it out. Oh, sorry. Proceed. As I was saying, that is the address of the White House. Addresses are important, and every building has an address. If we were having a playdate at a friend's house, we use their address to get there. And it also helps on birthdays, when people want to mail us cards and gifts. Well, if a house didn't have an address, in some countries, people live in places that aren't on the street, so they don't actually have an address. So like in a country like that, you would have to say things like, make a right at the tree, and you left at the big blue building. Exactly, but not anymore. The country of Mongolia just recently announced that they are moving over to a new system called What 3 Words. Mongolia has struggled with the regular address system for a while now. The country is about the size of Texas, but only has 1/10 the amount of people living there. That means there is a lot of open space. Right, and the streets often don't have names, and a lot of the people there live in tents that move from place to place. So many Mongolians don't even live in a permanent place. For that reason, locating people is very difficult. The purpose of What 3 Words is to make it possible for everyone in the world to have an address, no matter where in the world they are. To make this possible, What 3 Words uses a map of the world that is divided into 3-meter square sections. 3 meters is the same as 9 feet. So to get an idea of the size of a 3-meter square, imagine each side is a length of a jump rope. It's not a very big space when you compare it to the rest of the world, and only one house can fit in that sized space. So What 3 Words is assigning 3 words to each square. The words are each separated by a period, and there are so many words in the world that there is an infinite number of 3-word combinations. Each square will have its own address, and therefore, wherever you are in the world, you would also have your own address. So instead of saying that wrong address for the White House, you could simply say, Engine, Doors, Cubs. Pretty cool. The address for the Eiffel Tower, graphics, Dad's Inched. And the Statue of Liberty is located at Planet Inches Most. Mongolia will make the switch to What 3 Words in July, and even though the system could work anywhere in the world, don't expect to see the United States do it anytime soon. For more information about that story, as well as a 3-word address for some of our favorite places, visit Wacky News on podcastplayground.com. Okay, it's time for the last news story of the day. Take it away, Wacky News Machine. Little kids making a big difference. A lot of us kids have thought this before. What difference can I make? I'm just a kid. Well, 13-year-old Will Lourcey of Texas thinks that kids can make a big difference. He encourages people to see a need, make a plan, gather friends, and change the world. When Will was only 7 years old, he was on his way from a baseball game when he saw a man standing by the side of the street holding a sign. The man was homeless, and the sign said, "Need a meal." Will didn't understand at the time and asked his parents what that meant. When they explained to him that there are people everywhere who unfortunately don't have enough food to eat, Will became very sad and decided to do something to help. That is when he created Friends Reaching Our Goals, FROGS for short. FROGS is a kid-run organization that inspires kids to get involved in helping their community. And their motto is, having fun while helping others. That sounds pretty cool, right? Yeah, it does. Will is quick to point out that there are nearly 17 million kids in the United States at risk of hunger, which means there is more than all the people in New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago put together. Wow, that's terrible. Kids who are hungry don't have strength they need to stay healthy. They can't focus on important things like school, and it's really bad for them both mentally and physically. So how does Will get kids involved? I mean, I want to help people, but I wouldn't even know where to start. FROGS designs fun events and activities like lemonade stands or laser tag parties or dinner club events for kids who have never eaten in a restaurant before, or big baseball tournaments. In order to participate, kids donate either money or food, and those donations go to a local food bank where they can be given directly to people in need. That sounds like something a lot of kids can do. Exactly. Will believes that everyone can step up and help others. The key is keeping your eyes open and never making excuses for why you can't help someone in need. Over the last 4 years, Frogs has provided over 175,000 meals to the hungry, helped pack 50,000 backpacks with food for hungry kids, and helped give meals to over 10,000 families through the mobile food pantry. And all of this was done with the help of over 1,000 kids.
Yay!
That is so amazing. We're going to share a link to the Friends Reaching Our Goals website with pictures and videos of Will and all the cool stuff he is doing. Look for it in the show notes for episode 7. And now for my favorite part of the show.
Wacky jokes!
Did you hear about the party a little boy had for his sister's Barbie dolls? It was a barbecue. What do you call a pile of kittens? A mountain. Why was the broom late? It overswept. Knock, knock. Who's there? Old lady. Old lady who? Well, I didn't know you could yodel. Knock, knock. Who's there? Woo. Woo-woo. Don't get all excited. It's just a knock-knock joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you who? Wouldn't you like to subscribe to Wacky News so you can hear more jokes? Good one, Dylan. Okay, guys, that's all we've got for episode 7. Thanks for listening. Be sure to go to podcastplayground.com and click on Wacky News for more information about me, Dylan, and Jackson, as well as pictures and videos, wacky words, and more. See you next week!